What are you doing? Get out of here. Get out of my shop. Go. Get out. Get. Move. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Stepsbasic, and welcome back to my community. Oh, Lord, that's an anthem right there, if it's ever saw one. That's not what's important. What's important is what we're talking about today. And yep. First, before we get started, actually, I do have, I have the lore review of Warframe coming soon. I'm still working on it. It's been a really busy week. I should have been able to get it this week, but anyway, that I more than likely have enough time to get it done next week. But back to the topic at hand, replay value. This is one of those topics that's pretty signature to video games, but it also can be translated to other mediums. You see, what?
Can I play my Kindle while you're trying? I'm sorry, I want to do something.
Children,
I'm sorry, I want to do something.
Anyway, so, replay value is pretty signature to video games. I mean, replay. What else are you going to play? But it can be translated into other mediums. It's different when it comes to movies, because movies, television shows, etc., we're talking about 30 minutes to 2 hours of your life. Not too big a deal. Something you can easily sacrifice. So it's like you want to watch a movie again, you go ahead and watch a movie again. Books, kind of the same deal, but a little bit longer, depending on how fast you read, of course. Like, you could have a good 300 page book, 200 book, 2 to 300 page book. That's like a day, you know. You sit down, you read it, and it's a good relaxing day. We just sit there and read. When it comes to a video game, we're talking about hours of your life. We're talking about, you know, I'd say 2 hours at best for a short game, but upwards of several days worth of hours in a longer game. And that's not something you could just jump into. I mean, that's part of the reason why I've had such a qualm about adventure type games. Like, I just finished Heavy Rain. 12 hours, 13 hours, give or take, to finish the game in total. And it's not just something you can just sit down and play again. So that's where the topic at hand comes into play, the replay value. Now, in certain games, there is virtually no replay value to the game. And much like I've said before, Heavy Rain is like that. There are alternate endings, so to speak, but the path you get there is basically the same. It's just depending on whether or not you succeed or fail. And in my case, I didn't actually get the true ultimate good person ending where all 4 of my heroes survived, or all 4 of the characters survived, because one of them didn't survive. Turns out I needed to keep Scott alive, and I have no idea how I was supposed to do that. But games like that, they have virtually no replay value. Maybe you want to go for a different ending. Maybe you want to make sure you get all your trophies. That's more of just a collector's ideal. Much like myself, I do love myself some good collecting stuff. And as such, I am going to go back to Heavy Rain on my own time to get the trophies, because they're all story based, because the game's a story game. But anyway, but there are games with immense replay value. Now, for one thing, we all know my favorite game is Final Fantasy VII. I've played that game so many times. I've only finished it 4 or 5 times in total, maybe. Because I like to start over. I like to test things out. And you can, in that game, you can try things in different builds and whatnot. But in the end, the story never changes. So, even in that case, Final Fantasy VII does not have a whole lot of replay value. It does have collectors and side quests and whatnot, and if you're just going, like, take me for instance. When it comes to a game, I have 3 methods of playing the game. And generally, I do it in order of, well, stuff. First of all, I'll do it just to beat it. I want to get in, I want to enjoy the story, I want to enjoy the characters, introduce myself to the system, and like what I'm doing. Second way I'll do it for speed. If you've been on my channel long enough, you'll know I played Outlast, and I tried to do a speed run of that game. It was more of a challenge thing. I was like, I want to see if I can beat this game in an hour. And for every time I died, I had to eat a habanero pepper, and if I didn't make it, I had to eat 2. In the end, I ended up having to eat 7. 7? 6? 7? One of the 2. Either 6 or 7. It's been a while. But I'm going to link that, so if you guys want to go check it out, it's kind of funny. Apart from that, the speed runs are fun and challenging. But that only lends itself to certain games. Like, RPG is totally out of the question. I mean, you can arguably do a speed run in an RPG, but it really sucks a lot of the game out of it. So it literally just becomes a race to the next checkpoint sort of deal. And then the third way I play it is for mastery. Getting everything, doing everything, seeing everything. Now, take for instance Final Fantasy VII again. I beat that one in my 3 methods. I beat it to play it. Took me about 45 to 50 hours to beat it. I beat it speed run. Took me 25 hours to beat it. I beat it for mastery, and I maxed out the clock. And to me, games like Final Fantasy VII do have replay value because there's alternate paths, but ultimately the story is the exact same. There's no like choices or anything that apply to it, but I play games a little bit weirdly. Like if you saw my Warcraft video I just put up, I play games a lot like that, or I used to play games a lot like that on my own. Especially after I played the story mode, I'll go in and I'll just play. After I played the normal mode, I'll go back in and I'll just play just to fart around and be funny, and the characters will get voices in my head and they'll be saying things that are not at all related to the story and things like that. I did a video about that too, playing things a little differently. And then there are games that have a lot of replay value in that the world is so broad and open that you don't even have to worry about the main story. Games like Skyrim and Oblivion and the Fallout series and games like that. Basic open world sandbox games where you create your character, they plop you in the middle of the world and say, have fun. And to me, more often than not, the biggest appeal to that game is not even the main story. Interesting though it may be, my favorite part about that game is the fact that I can construct my own stories. And that gives that game immense replay value, in my opinion. Now, of course, that game does not appeal to everybody, because some people just like the fast-paced, hold your hand, guide you to the next checkpoint type of games. And to me, I look at those games, and I'm not a big fan of those as far as replay value is concerned. Take, for instance, The Last of Us, or The Evil Within. Both fun, amazing games. I love their stories, I love the action, I love the gameplay value. But when you go back into it, the only thing I'll go back into, like The Last of Us or The Evil Within 4, is the story. And I love the stories. But as far as replay value goes, I already know the story. And you can go for mastery. You can go to max out your characters. But in the end, if you're doing it that way, if you're doing that game for anything other than the story, then it's going to be very tedious and it's going to drag on. And for me, that's why I've really only beat The Last of Us twice. And then we can turn around. Like I talked about the speed run and the mastery run and the normal run. Those are my types of runs. There is the other run, the one that I rarely ever do. And if I do it, I only do it for mastery. And that is the challenge mode, insanity mode, nightmare mode, going through the game at its most difficult. Evil Within, shut up, The Evil Within had quite possibly my favorite in its DLC. They had the Japanese word difficulty mode, where they literally put you in the game again in total darkness, and you had to play through that game like that. That was probably my favorite challenge mode. The Last of Us had a fun challenge mode too, called grounded mode, where basically you're playing in real life. Nothing glints at you, you die real quick, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. So, to me, replay value is kind of a strange subject, because some games have replay value in and only one aspect. And people will judge their games based on whether or not they like it. Like, can I play this game again? In some cases, that's fine. Especially bigger games, much like Skyrims and Oblivions and whatnots. Those games can be easily judged on their replay value, because their replay value is not just limited to certain things, certain aspects. Because that entire game is just you have to replay this game if you want to get everything. If you want to really enjoy this game, you have to replay it. But anyway, sorry for the brevity of this video. I must be going. I have a busy day and I am completely behind schedule. This video should have gone up 2 hours ago, but you know what? It's not up yet. If you guys got any ideas for other replay ideals, like what makes a game replayable for you? Do you like replaying games like for the things I've listed, or shut up, boom, or do you like to play it for a different reason? You know, leave me your comments down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, when I can, if I can, you know, all that jazz. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please go and poke that like button for me if you'd like to, of course. Do what I said earlier, and yeah, tune in next time when we should have the lore review of Warframe. And my God, there's a lot to unpack in that video, so it might be a bit long. But anyway, until then.